Giving yourself permission to relax, relax, relax. Placing a hand over our heart, bringing our focus to our breath. Aware of your breath coming in as your breath is coming in. Aware of your breath going out as your breath is going out. Yes, we have thoughts that come and go. Allow them to come and go. Just like people that you pass down a busy street as you're walking. Allow them to come and go. Don't give them any importance. We are aware of our breath, the rise and fall of our chest. And with that, we are also aware of the beating of our heart. We are bringing ourselves to a moment of togetherness. Our breath and our heartbeat holds utmost importance right now. Relax, relax. Finding your natural breathing rhythm. As you focus on your heartbeat, you will find that your breathing rhythm starts to align a bit with your heartbeat. And you might find yourself just relaxing your heartbeat a little bit. Go ahead and do that. Relax, relax, relax. Right. Now bring to mind a situation or a time where you felt most connected to your community, your family, people around you. Bringing to mind a sense of coherence, bringing a memory to mind of when you felt most coherent, most oneness. You bring this memory to mind so we can inhabit those feelings, those sensations of togetherness, of coherence, of community. Remember that the mind doesn't know that it's not happening right now. Your feelings, your sensations, they take up what your mind presents as reality in this moment. Remembering what it feels like to feel such oneness with others, what it feels like to celebrate together a common cause, what it feels like to have a oneness and a sense of community. Now allow yourself to embody this feeling, evoking the feeling, evoking the memory of oneness, of community, of coherence. And then while we have that energy live within us, silently or out loud, say these words with me. I choose to connect with humanity today. I send waves of love through the atmosphere. I contribute to the positive changes of the world. I see the beauty in people and in my environment. I do my part to heal the world today. I send my earth home nurturing love and healing today. I set the intention to share the best of myself with the world today. Take a nice deep in breath, raising your arms out. And as you breathe out, bring your arms back into a warm embrace over yourself. Nice squeezy hug. And smile at yourself. Yeah. This is something that we can do anytime, all the time, to send positive thoughts and energy and all of the mushiness and the beauty of it to the world around us, to our towns, to our neighborhoods, to our countries, even to the world. And as we do it together, we connect with one another, transcending all space and time. If you just joined us, I welcome you once again to the Soul Dive. My name is Lebo. We do this every Tuesday evening. We get together in this way and we talk about something that can help us move just an inch closer to that more fulfilled, enjoyable life that we are all so wanting to create for ourselves. So I invite you, if you have missed any of our previous shows, to go ahead and maybe give them a listen, share them with a friend and all of that, and let's make this world a better place. The best way to make the world a better place is to present ourselves and to show up in the world as the best of ourselves. Right, let's get into it. Let's talk about your right to be wrong. Yes, your right to be wrong. I'm calling it that specifically because for me, it's very, very personal. It brings to memory a lot of situations that could have really been avoided if I knew much earlier on that I have the right to be wrong. You know, I'm talking about that thing that we all have growing up. You know, I remember being 19 years old and so sure that I know everything. I had an answer for everything, and I was so sure that I am responsible for making sure that the world walks the line. I think there was a time when somebody actually said to me, "You are not responsible for training other people's children. You are not responsible for teaching everybody in the world how to be." And I mean, there was somebody that I worked with that I really admired because they were an expert in the field that I was working in, and I was 19 years old, and I was like so frustrated at the fact that this person just seemed to just be, you know, very repellent towards me. And I was like, why is this person? And then I heard them once make a comment that says, you know, Lebo doesn't understand that everyone in the world is different, that everyone doesn't have to do things exactly the same way. Because you see, when you are raised correctly, you've got this thing that there is A and B, black and white. There's a way to do things, there's a way to not do things. And so much of the time, we commit to that so much that we actually hold on to control. We don't even realize that actually it is control. And control is born out of fear. Fear that I won't know what to do, that I'll show up at a party dressed wrong, that I won't know what to say, that I'll be the only one out that's lost. You know, the reality is that we don't have so much control. We don't have control at all. There are more things on this planet and in this world and in our lives that we have zilch control over than there are things that we do have control over. And also the reality is that things go so much more smoothly when we allow them to happen instead of making them happen. Because, you know, I think in those days, one of my favorite lines was, "It's my way, no highway option." Guys, I was a terror. But I am quite convinced that I am not alone in this, you know, because it came from the fact that I was not able to trust that I'm going to be okay, no matter what the circumstances. I was not able to open myself to possibilities. These possibilities that, yes, can be bad, but also can be oh so good. That can open me up to experiencing life that has more joy, more freedom, more connection, more support, where I can meaningfully connect with others without this thing at the back of my mind that says, why, sure, one thing, Nji, you speak this one word, I write you off. You are no longer going to be able to be my friend because clearly we are not equally yoked. Hey, those terms that we like to throw around that really just mean divisiveness in our lives. Anyway, I want to talk about my experience because you see, I know my experience very well, but I want to use it as an example for others because you see, as specific as it is, the truth of the matter is that it's extremely general. I have watched 20-year-olds, I've watched 50-year-olds, I've watched people of all walks and ages and whatever be so committed to their sense of right and wrong that they have no room for the fact that they might be wrong. They might not have the whole story. They might have been taught these things and conditioned to believe things in this way so that they can act and present themselves and show up in the world in a specific way that serves a certain person, group, or whatever. Think about people who constantly speak to us about the family values of our country when they actually mean to say we need to sideline, make wrong, and shame people who don't think like us, believe like us, and do like us. And they use these terms that sound so right. Why wouldn't you want to embrace our common values? Culture, life moves on and evolves by all of us being able to present ourselves 100% in the way that is coherent, spirit, soul, body. That I'm not doing things that are right, but somehow feeling conflicted inside. You know, constantly going home and saying to myself, hey, I should have said this, ruminating about every conversation, going over every interaction to see how right I was and how I could have been more right. Or the thing that we do where we break up relationships because we didn't sit and say, okay, in my view, the thing that you insist on doing is wrong. But tell me, I am going to sit here with no judgment, with no preconceived idea of my own, and listen to you and hold space for what you believe to be the right thing for your life in this situation. And that's another major thing, that when we show up in life in this way, when we always insist on being right, we kind of almost immediately make the whole world wrong on some level. Like, they may not be wrong 100% of the time, but we've put ourselves on somewhat of a pedestal. Giving up the right to be always right may seem counterproductive when you think it means reaching your goals, it means achieving the things you want in life. But you know what? Stay with me for a little while longer and I will show you that it is not. Sometimes being that child who's always doing the right thing and wondering why there's so much conflict in my life. Why am I doing the right thing and things aren't falling into place? Why is it that I'm a vegan and lions are hunting me? It's not how the world works. So it can create so much inner conflict. It can create an inner war when we actually put ourselves on the soapbox. Of course, we've been placed there by our families who always were so proud of how rightly they raised us, how we know how to act, how we know how to be, that when we meet someone who acts differently to us, we don't meet it with curiosity and wonder and ask questions like, how does that work for you? Nyan, so when you do that, what happens? You know, that sense of wonder is lost when it comes into conflict with our own sense of the right to be right. I myself, even me, I stood on the soapbox. I was a cherished princess in my family. They were very proud of how right they are. My beliefs were the correct ones. There was no space for other people's beliefs that, hey, stratmate tendencies, because I have no view of what that other person's experience in life is. I cannot possibly understand why it makes so much sense to them to be so directly opposed to what I believe to be right. And yet, my commitment to the control I feel I have and must have from being right will not let me get off my soapbox and sit side by side with another person and have a conversation that creates a shared pool of meaning and understanding. All right, I'm going to bring it to how it actually affects us in a way that hurts us. I used to pray, and I would then get up off my knees and be quite sure of how God is going to answer that prayer. Because you see, there is a right way, there is a wrong way, there is ways that I will not accept, because it cannot possibly be from God if it did not come like from a hand from heaven, just handed to me, obviously, you know. I would pity people that believe differently from me on some, such a pity I don't have time to educate. Really? Yeah, this is real. This happens. This was definitely me. And walk away and go home and feel very much like, I'm so privileged. There's people, and we talk about it in our groups, in our cute little tea party groups. We talk about it. How can you believe? Can you believe that a person can actually think that that's right in life? I watched my family split from family that I love and care for as a child, purely because they had a single point of diversion in their beliefs. I mean, families have been split because some people believe baptism means sprinkled, where others means dunked. Family shugani. We don't even have Christmas with them anymore. Unbelievers. Because we have to be right. We have to be right. We have the ticket to heaven right here because we are right. I'm going to tell you what saved me from that. But I am enjoying actually outlining how this harmed me. It closed me off from my sense of wonder, from my sense of being able to look at others and look at life with appreciation for the innocence of life. The fact that it is possible for someone to believe something that I don't, so much that they're willing to die for that truth, quote unquote. It is possible for someone to believe something to such an extent that they order every step of their lives, how they eat, how they sleep, who they love, who they hang out with, where they go, according to a set of beliefs that are so dogmatic and stringent that they cannot be deviated from without horrible, horrible, horrible consequence. You see, the sense of wonder is gone. There's no sense of knowing that there's more than one way to get to an outcome. 3 plus 3 is 6. 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. 5 plus 1 is 6. 4 plus 2 is also 6. So many ways to get to an outcome. But we can split entire families and make children grow up without their one parent because they would not agree to do things the way I want them to do. What is that? Remember when I was saying that my right to be right? A lot of times it's about control. It actually blinds us from being able to see the autonomy of other human beings, from being able to see that other human beings have choices too. That as much as I have the right to be right, as well as the right to be wrong, every other human being is a sovereign entity who has each of these rights as well. And my being in their lives a lot of times will be so much better if I hold space for the things about them that are different from me, from the ways in which they do things that are different from me, and respect that. Not necessarily adopt it, not necessarily suddenly turn, hey man, yeah, it means I was wrong. No, I'm not saying that you are absolutely wrong. But life is not a zero-sum goal. It is not about winners versus losers. Being always right means that you always expect that you always the winner. Other people must be losers. You must just walk in carnage. Other people must just habashre. Everyone must be a loser all around you because you are always right. You see? You see? There's problems there because it means that everyone else that's in your life now has to live in the shadow of knowing they are always wrong. You know, people walk away from Mr. and Mrs. Always Right. I'm not talking about compromise. That's all too easy. I'm talking about holding space to hear without judgment the other person, to observe without judgment how other people experience life. You don't find a garden with just one flower and say this is a beautiful garden. There's diversity just as much as there is diversity in each and every one of us, in our thoughts, in our approach to life, in the way that we are capable of being wrong, so totally catastrophically wrong about things, and yet we are also capable of being so right about things. But in the great sum of things in life experience, who cares? Why is it a thing? Being right is lonely. You can literally watch yourself become a ghost in the lives of your loved ones because you had to be right. You just had to be right. So you have this 4-year-long argument with your husband about how he must quit playing golf because you don't like it. You're not giving him a chance to decide for himself, hey man, you know, this golf is costing me time with my family and my children. So now instead of him going through the process of arriving at the decision of spending less time on the golf course, he is stuck in an argument, in a standoff with you about who is right about playing golf all day Saturday. And then 4 years goes by. Your children grow up without a father because now you just could not accept that it might just be okay for him to go ahead and do that. Because no, in my family, when I grew up, my father was always at home on Saturday. We spend time as a family on Saturday. Okay, so that means now that's the gospel. The life iphelele. You can't, there's no other options. There are so many ways to get to a sum, but there's not so many ways to get to the same outcome. When we give up the right to be right, we allow others to bring their full participation. We allow others to bring their input as well. We allow others to participate in a meaningful way in the relationships that we have with them. Whether it be at work, we allow a collaborative kind of sense. We allow connection on a deeper level. You know, it's also stressful in the body. So stressful. It's stressful in the body. You hold more cortisol in your stomach, and it brings tension to everything. Like, just, I remember growing up in a home where we went to church every Sunday morning, and I'm telling you now, every single Sunday morning, the parents were fighting. Every single Sunday morning without fail. Until one of them decided, you know what? In fact, I am no longer going to go to church. So they gave up something that was more important for something that was less important because they were fighting about who's right. You're always making me late. But I've got 5 children to get ready first. Yeah, but you're always making me late. Why are you late again? Hi, Suga, just go to church. I'm going to stay here by myself. Hamban. You see? What have we gained from that? It can also blind us from creative solutions. Creative solutions. You know, I believe deeply that Every single one of us has a purpose and a plan in this life. And along with that purpose and that plan, we landed on this planet with our hands like this because the provision and the providence for everything we will ever need for our life and for the goodness, greater good, godliness, all of that, for our lives to have meaning and to do the thing we came here to do. We can't have been given enough breaths for every single day of our lives, and yet not enough of something that we critically need to achieve our purpose in this life. That makes absolutely no sense. And yet, when we are so committed to how our solutions reach us, when they have to reach us in the way that we think is right, when they have to reach us in the way that we subscribe to, then guess what? We put ourselves in a situation where we are unable to receive unless our preconceived conditions are. We are basically saying, I know better than God. I know better than the universe. I know better how this should actually be happening. So yes, that's how it can blind us from creative solutions. You know, one of the biggest freedoms I ever had, and I mean, I now live in the Eastern Cape, and people who know me very well know that just me being here was a miracle. But it was a miracle of surrender. It was a miracle of me saying, I believe with all my heart I am supposed to go and live in East London. Lord, I put it in your hands. I will not touch it with thought or with plot or plan how I'm going to get there. It is in your hands. I trust you. I used affirmations. Everything concerning my life is taken care of. Everything concerning my life and purpose is taken care of. Providence meets me at every end. I used affirmations to occupy my mind while I stopped myself from taking the control of walking around, and I don't know what I would have done. Gone and begged in the streets, gone and stolen, begged, borrowed, whatever, just so that I can make it to come and live in a place that I believed in my heart I was meant to come and live in. That is the power of giving up the right to be right, giving up the control of how things happen in my life, giving up the control of how providence can circumvent circumstances in my life to bring me everything that pertains to my life purpose being fulfilled. I will not live an unfulfilled life unless I stand in my own way because I think I know better, because I think that my limited resources and solutions are better than those that can be provided, that came with me in my hand when I landed on this planet. Another thing is that it can turn everyone we meet into a potential victim. It can turn, as a matter of fact, everyone we meet into a potential villain. Because if you're not with me, you're against me. If you're not helping me, you're against me. And yet, it blinds us from being able to see that all these people that we're making villains maybe aren't even in our lives. But because we are running this plan, ramroding this plan that has to happen by hook or by crook, the way we want and no other way, we find ourselves in situations and in places that we have no business being in. It makes life uphill. It makes life an uphill battle. Why is being right, being always right, why does it feel so wrong? I mean, in conflict situations, I wasn't trying to find a solution that will move us forward. I was pitting myself against the other person. Basically, zindala zombili. Inkani yami ukuthi ngi-right, nam ngi-right. So now the other person must choose to abandon their beliefs, their thoughts, and their being right in favor of, really? Really? This is how we run relationships now? Or else I leave. Okay. This is an old way of being. Most of us have learned it from our forebearers who were like, my way or no the highway option, or my house, my rules. It's caustic, it's abrasive, it's destructive, it causes emotional trauma. Every single one of us is walking around on some I need healing, I need healing. People are so obsessed with the word of a narcissistic parent, a narcissistic what. But at the same time, if we ourselves insist on being right, or else the other person must be called a narcissist, then guess what? We are actually very destructive. Guys, this is serious. You know, it took an emotional breakdown for me to sit down and have someone talk to me and talk me through the fact that, and this is so simple, and yet I was so blind to it, that every right I have is common to every human being. That if I have the right to be right, they have the right to be right. If they are able to be wrong, I am able to be wrong. What? What freedom? When I realize I have the right to be wrong and I'm not gonna die for it, I let myself surrender into the knowing that I am not in charge, that the axis of the world does not balance on my ability to be right, that the axis of the planet rotating does not balance on me needing to be precisely painfully right, that even if I'm wrong, it's not the end of the world, that the sky is not gonna fall, the sun will keep shining, and everyone will keep going, because guess what? It's okay. And then what happened is that it freed me to journey on the path of wonder, just being able to suddenly see what is happening, what is true and real in my life, and experience my experience fully, not with this straight jacket of trying to, I'm going to have to walk in sideways into that situation, or else I'm very wrong and I cannot be wrong like that. Or I'm going to have to wear this. Oh my goodness, now I must carry a whole suitcase because after work, there's after work drinks and I cannot be caught wearing work clothes after work. Yeah, it goes to minute things. So stressed. And when I found out all the many ways in which I can be wrong, I realized the drive to be right had been closing the door for divine providence. Happy coincidences were few and far in my life. I actually, guys, don't judge, but I remember actually looking at a person in their face and saying, why are you talking to me? Because of course I was hoity-toity princess person on a pedestal in my own mind, like, how dare you? You are so like below me, because like there is me and then there's there's labels. Clap once, guys. I'm telling you, the blessings that didn't arrive the way that I prescribed them in my great wisdom did not arrive. Because I designated that if they don't come the way I expected that they're going to come, then clearly they're not coming from a good place. Ish. Yeah, agumanduba wrong, guys. Sometimes just being able to be wrong, and it can. I remember a situation. One of my younger siblings was visiting at my house, and I had a situation where an item of hers, she couldn't find it. So, being young, she's like, no, I'm sure the lady who came to clean must have taken it. Rah, 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 rah. But by now, you see, I had peeked behind the curtain of being wrong is actually okay. It's fine. It's okay. And I said to myself, what if we are wrong about this? What if it wasn't her? Let's not hurt her. Just in case. The situation will unfold for itself. Struis Bob. A week later, Ugel hasn't been to the house for a week now. She only comes every 2 weeks. And then the thing that my young sister was looking for was right there. She had put it somewhere in the house. And in haste, knowing herself to be completely always right, because when you're young, of course, you're always right sometimes, she accused this poor girl of stealing something that she had misplaced. Had we actually had the situation out, it would have been a big situation. Person would have felt insulted. We would have lost a good person who's been helping us. And yet, just that holding back for a moment to say, what if we're wrong saved us? Yeah? I'm going to tell you another story, and then I'm going to read you something I wrote. And I wrote this so long ago that I'm going to read it for you just out of nostalgia. I mean, I've told you so many personal stories, I might as well. So, I used to absolutely loathe the situation where I get stuck in traffic, or, God forbid, I have to now be standing at the taxi rank waiting for taxis to get full. I'm that person who gets to work an hour and a half earlier than I need to be there to avoid traffic. That's literally my thing. I haven't outgrown that, because I was raised by people who just do that, like, as normal. But this one day I was standing at the taxi rank, and it was packed. There was no social distancing. And I could feel Tabasco sauce coming up my legs, man. I could feel I'm getting angrier and angrier. And why am I angry? Because I was actually on time, and yet now what is happening here? Why is there are no taxis? I was unaware that there was some situation that caused this delay, but now I have no control over it. But it's making me so angry because I have no control. I cannot do anything, and yet I am right. Damn it, I'm right. Righteous indignation. This one happened a lot to me, I must tell you. It used to happen a lot. But this one time when it happened, I realized these circumstances are beyond my control. I pulled out my phone, put on my headphones, I listened to some music, amused myself in ways, and in times past it would have been my undoing. But on that day, I found my sense of wonder. I looked around. I was suddenly surrendered to the moment. I was able to observe people milling about, the hawkers setting up their things, the people hopeful, starting their day, children going to school, just like the kids that are playing around and singing and whatever. I fell in love with the sun that day, guys. For the first time, I was able to actually, in the middle of chaos, in the middle of a situation that could have just made me, it could have been so horrible, I found myself wrapped in a sense of wonder. And this is what I wrote that day. I watched the sunrise this morning. Suddenly I was taken aback by how this beautiful dawn of a new day dawns on all of us, promising with it another chance at whatever we want, constructive or destructive. Many times I've looked at the sun. I've looked at the sunrise and not only missed its beauty, but also its promise and warmth. Seemingly determined to feel blue, hectic, unmotivated, and stressed as I focus, like all of us, on the shadows under the sun. I blame it on Josie, the job, the people. Darn it, traffic is a killer. Well, there's just as much good as there is bad in our world and in our lives. Somehow we miss the wondrous, although it's always here, in and around us. Preachy, I know. But think of it. What if instead of the traffic, we rather appreciated the solitary moments that we get to have in traffic? sit in a taxi, to be kind to our own selves, to appreciate who we are and what we're capable of. I mean, yeah, there's lots of terrible things going on. I used a paraphrase because the word was not nice. Going on. But then there's you. Relentless, driven, passionate, determined. Even though you didn't stop to consider the sunrise, you woke up. Even without considering its warmth, you were brave enough to face the cold-hearted gangster monster of a horrible morning, stuck in traffic, in taxis, milling with people you don't know, having to be in situations you can't control. Whatever it is, whoever it is, even though you know how awful this day could potentially be, you had the audacity to take it on. The courage, yes, the courage. It's not the lack of nonsense that can go on. It's not that there isn't bad things happening, but it's a determination, regardless of everything opposing, to trudge on and take our stake in the world. So I'm not looking at the sunrise anymore. As amazing as it is, I am more enthralled by every one of us, the strength and beauty of the human spirit. Yeah, I did write that while standing at a taxi rank. And then I took pictures of the sunrise. But in that moment, I found the sense of wonder. I didn't have control of what's happening, what was going to happen to me, if I was even going to make it to work. I could pray and surrender to divine intelligence about how to get to where I need to be. And if I didn't get to where I thought it was going to be that day, it was okay with me. Because for the first time, I understood that it doesn't matter about all of it. What does matter is how I manage this vehicle that is my spirit, my soul, my body, my way of experiencing this world. When I give up and surrender and let go of control, I can get to experience a lot more of it and be able to actually take on this experience with a sense of wonder, with a sense of curiosity, and be able to discover those hidden gems of paths that I didn't even know were there. Our need to be right is fueled by control, is fueled by our need to be controlling of our situations, as if we know better. It often extends, like we said, to control over our loved ones. Instead of being, think about it, why are we in people's lives? To be a witness, to journey along with them. Even our children, they are not ours to control. They are ours to experience. And we're never going to experience any one person properly unless we give up our right to control everything about them and how we interact with them. Yes, be safe, wear your mask, do the things you need to do to make sure that this here is safeguarded. But beyond that, understand that when you go home and ruminate about a conversation you had 2 days ago with someone, that's you trying to stay in control of something you can't control. When you go home and you start plotting how you're going to get back at them, that's you spending the now investing in yesterday, which is already gone. You can't control it, you can't change it. When you have major conflict in relationships, watch where you are standing. A lot of times you are hell-bent on standing on a truth that apparently is more valuable than your relationship with this person that you are with. When you are sleepless because these conversations you've had with people constantly go through your mind, it is time to give up control. It is time to surrender to the possibility that everything you have ever wanted is possible, while you continue to enjoy freedom and peace and connection and support. Even the ability to receive from others. When someone says, I see you need this, and offers you a gift, sometimes we can't receive it because, they're going to think that, I need their help. Now we find ourselves in a situation where we go without provisions that are for us, support that is for us, because we must remain in control. I want to invite you to pick a situation or situations in your life that you find yourself feeling just a little bit out of control in. All right? And use those situations to write up some affirmations, 2 or 3, to repeat to yourself all the time, that are positive, that reinforce that you don't need to be in control. Here's an example. I trust that everything will happen as it is intended to. I honor and love myself. There is no need for control. I am thankful for the opportunities I have been given thus far. This has been the Soul Dive. I invite you to embrace your sense of wonder. Until we meet again.